Okay. Hello, everybody. Okay, great. Hello, Ghislain and Rosa. Uh, okay, so thank you so much for joining me and welcome everybody. Thanks for taking the time to be here and participate on today's conversation titled "How does upcycling fit into the current fashion system?" It's a pleasure to be here and. Because I genuinely believe that upcycling is a very unutilized tool we have to close the loop within the fashion industry, but we'll get into that in a few minutes. And just for the information, yeah, the talk will be 30 minutes, so 20 minutes talk and then 10 minutes Q&A if anybody has any questions. And yeah, so firstly, maybe Ghislain and Rosa, you can introduce yourselves yeah, what you do and how you relate to upcycling.
Sure.
Please, Rosa, go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, great. Well, my name is Rosa, and I'm the COO and co-founder of Upcycled.net. I've been working in fashion for a few years now, and we launched Upcycling in 2016. I left the company just when we were starting, and I basically worked in fast fashion for the last 4 years. And upon my return to Spain, I obviously joined back Upcycling after having worked in the fast fashion industry for 4 years. Just made me realize that there's no other way than sustainable fashion in today's lifestyle. So currently in Upcycling started as a peer-to-peer platform. We wanted to put in contact fashion lovers and fashion makers, so lovers could contact the makers and create their own customizations or upcycling through the platform. After a couple of years of trial and error, we decided to actually have the customizations to purchase on our website. We decided that for the moment, this is the best for us in terms of technology. We need to invest more in technology so that side of the business works accordingly, because we just want to provide the best experience for people that want to customize or upcycle their clothing. So currently, we're just working on a one-to-one with the personal, with the public in general, upcycling their clothing, but also we are working with local institutions such as the City Council in Valencia, or education. For example, we're also working with universities, fashion design universities, with different projects on upcycling. We're working with youth centers as well, to show, through workshops, to teach how to upcycle things that we have, garments that we have in our wardrobes that we didn't even remember that we had. But also we work with companies, all sorts of companies, from micro companies to big fashion corporations. So just to, especially just working with businesses, which is trying to help them, basically lead them on the right path to sustainability through upcycling.
Okay, great. Do you want to go, Ghislain?
Yes, sure. So hello, everybody. Thanks, Paula, for inviting me. My name is Ghislain. I have been in the fashion industry for around 16 years, mainly in Asia, in the production side. So my last job was head of global sourcing for Talivel, for the group Talivel in Switzerland, with 900 stores in Europe. So I was in charge of the production in China, Myanmar, Cambodia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, Turkey, Morocco. So I was traveling a lot. I left the company January 2020, and in July 2020 we launched Upcycled. So Upcycled means upcycle bill of material. So we are really in the B2B part upstream. it's a platform to promote upcycling in the fashion industry. So as we know, that the textile industry is the second most polluting industry in the world, and on every step in the supply chain exists surplus, excess of raw material, leftovers. But brands are disconnected with the factories on all these leftovers. Which means brands order one garment, the way it's made, in a way they do not know what is left out of that. So more than a platform, we are a solution to manage the stocks from supplier side and connect with brands on all the leftovers, what is available to them. We, for us, upcycling is use what is available to you instead of producing new raw material. So our motto is reduce waste, create value out of your dead inventory, and bring agility in the fashion industry. We, as explained, we are a B2B platform solution. We connect brands and suppliers via the platform, and we have in the background a lot of solutions: push, pull, search, and it's a membership with only $500 per year, and we do not take any commission on the transaction.
Transaction.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So yeah, and then me, I'm Paula Menéndez. I'm the co-founder of Isla Collective, which is a solution that helps brands revalue their sleeping inventory through collaborations with young upcycling designers. And Isla started off just as a marketplace to help upcycled designers gain visibility because they're like talking to them, we saw that there wasn't, the market was not very established or had like just like a place where you could go and just buy upcycled fashion. So we built the marketplace to help them and give them visibility. And after that, brands started approaching us and wanting to kind of like do these collaborations with the upcycling designers to revalue all of their excess inventory, especially now that there are some regulations that are coming up that force brands to have suitable ways of dealing with their excess inventory. And yeah, so now we work with brands and we put them in, we take in charge the whole operations of upcycling, and we put them in contact with upcycling designers. So yeah, so now that we know each other a bit more, we can dig deeper into the center of the question of this talk, which is how does upcycling fit into the current fashion system? And to have coherent conversation, I thought it was important to have a bit of context of how the industry, when we say current fashion system, what do we mean? And then to define what upcycling is, in case somebody out there doesn't know. So let's start with what we mean when we say current fashion system. It's the linear production model that the majority of the players in our industry have right now, which has a take, make, dispose system where large amounts of non-renewable resources are extracted to produce clothes that are often used for a really short period of time, and most of them end up in landfill or incinerated, which obviously causes pollution. And it has become a very urgent problem to solve because in the last 15 years, as a McAllen MacArthur Foundation points out, in the last 15 years, the clothing production has approximately doubled. And at the same time, the clothing use has declined by almost 40%. So there's more and more post-consumer waste. And then to paint a picture on everybody's minds, every second, one truckload of clothing is landfilled or burned. So at the end of this talk, we will have 2,400 truckloads total of textiles being burned. And yeah, so this linear system obviously puts lots of pressure on resources, pollutes and degrades the natural environment, but also creates negative societal impacts at local, regional, and global scale. So it's really clear now that there's a waste issue in the fashion system, and we need innovations that will make it more sustainable to produce. And then on the other side, I'd like us to define what upcycling is. I will take like the most basic definition, which is reusing discarded objects and or materials in such a way as to create a product of higher quality or value than the original. But maybe you guys can help me define what upcycling is for everybody, and talk about like the different types of upcycling we can have within the fashion system. And yeah. Rosa, you can go.
I cannot, we cannot hear you,
I
Rosa.
think your microphone is off.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
No. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, great. Thank you. Apologies. In upcycling, for us, upcycling is an art. It's a form. It's an art form. We try to show people, our customers or like clients or companies, for example, that work with us, that upcycling is not what a lot of people think is like, just using scrap textiles and having this sort of like patchwork or kind of like rough looking. We show them that there are endless options before discarding a garment, and we show them through. We work well. We have a stylist, Bianca. She was with us. She's part of our team, and she does an excellent job by putting these documents to for the clients, showing what can be done with their unused garments. So for us, it's an art. So people get amazed about what you can actually do with just like a coat that you haven't worn for like 10 years and you completely forgot about it. So it's an art form, and also it's kind
what
of like
kind of
showing.
upcycling is there?
In sorts, what do you mean? Like, we just basically just take the piece of clothing, analyze what it can be done, and we just show the client first. If we're talking to direct clients, we just show them what can be done. So, which is kind of like recreate and make a different garment. Exactly, yeah. Which is in upcycling, we only work with existing garments. We don't produce anything new. We don't buy any. Pretty much, we don't buy any materials. We just work with donations or secondhand clothing. That, for example, we had a factory that closed down, and they had like bags of fabric bags. So we just repurpose anything that is unwanted. So,
Ghislain? Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, maybe
please, I think,
sorry.
To us, upcycling is more about using what is available to you instead of using new resources. So we really take the upcycling from the beginning. If you have to make a garment, use really what is available to you instead of using new resources. It's just make it easy.
Okay. And in general, Ghislain, for example, like you mentioned, there's lots of waste along the supply chain. Can you mention, apart from finished garments, other types of waste that we have in the fashion system?
So it depends. We always call waste, but it's mainly excess and leftovers. But for example, from all the supply chain, just from the beginning, once you take cotton, when you harvest the cotton, you will lose somewhere 5%. Then you will make a yarn, then you will lose somewhere 5% as well. Then you will make a fabric, then somewhere 5%. We always produce excess in case there is some damage or whatever. And then you produce a garment, you always have 5% excess. But the brands usually they order 10,000 pieces, they want 10,000 pieces. So the 100 pieces left, stay in the factories, the fabric left stay in the factories, the raw material left stay in the factories. And this is part of the supply chain. So this just go into the warehouse, and when the warehouse is full, they discard it. So first, of course, there is a market for that. You have local market, whatever. But then out of these billion tons, million of tons on the local market, for example, all around Asia, at some point it will be in the landfill.
And for us to maybe Rosa, you can speak to what is needed in order to upcycle the garments. Like maybe can you make a comparison between the traditional fashion system when you just take textile to create a new garment and compare it to the upcycling process that you do?
Yeah, for us, we found that it's completely different to produce to create a garment from a piece of clothing that already exists. So from the traditional fashion system, you create a pattern, you have your fabric, you create, right? So that's as simple as that. For us, we found that for a lot of like designers, it's kind of more difficult to create another garment from something that is already built, because they will have to, like, in terms of like recreate another pattern, and the cutting and completely transform it is a completely different, it's just completely different than creating a garment from zero. So you have to have a special skill. So we had to find specific designers and or makers that are actually good at transforming, repurposing clothing.
Mm-hmm. And so in terms of, so what do you need? You would need an upcycler, and then do you work with ateliers or to do the upcycling, or is the, because I imagine,
Yes.
like, I mean, upcycling is a very unique product, so it's very artisanal in a way.
It is a one of a kind. Anything that we produce is just unique. So again, I'm talking on a one-to-one basis. I'm not talking about the companies, but in terms of like our clients, our direct clients, yeah, we have one garment and we have to work around it. So we choose the right maker to do whatever we need to do to that garment. So sometimes it's complicated to find the right person, because some pieces are very, that not everything is as difficult, but sometimes you have unique fabrics that you really have to be careful because they are unique. You don't have, you don't have that fabric ever again. So you really have to be careful, because a lot of times they hold a lot of sentimental value as well, those vintage pieces. So you really have to be careful. So yeah, so this is a struggle.
Okay. And more talking about the upcycling market in general right now, how do you guys sense it is developing? Like, have you seen a really big change in the last years? How is it when you approach clients in the fashion industry and you propose your solution? What's kind of like the reaction? Are they ready? Do they think it's interesting, but maybe in the long run? Yeah. Ghislain, if you want, you can start.
Yeah. On our side, everybody is excited, definitely. But then it's how to implement it because we really work in the B2B with sometimes with big groups and brands, and to implement it in the supply chain, to use what is available to you, it seems very simple, but actually it's more complicated than just to use the process that we have built since 20, 30 years in the fast fashion. It's so complex that actually putting and producing 10 kg of 10 kilos of fabric, it's easier than to look for the 10 kilos inside the warehouse, which is a bit insane. So we really need a lot of solutions to make this easy. The designers will be super interested, but the pressure they will have from the supply chain, from the brands, we really need to support them and to make as easy as possible and also from the consumers to help them to understand that this fabric has been upcycled or this garment is upcycled. So it's good for the planet.
Because you have the complexity that you have to convince on one side, I guess, like the factories that have all of this surplus, no, to actually identify and keep it in store until somebody wants it. And then on the other side, you have the brands or whoever wants to reuse this material, I guess. So
Yeah,
you have to
yes,
convince
exactly.
both sides.
Yeah, we need to convince both. Definitely, once you have the brands on board, it's easy for them to bring their factories on board, because brands, they have a lot of audits, a lot of compliance. So with this solution, we just connect them with their own factories. They cannot go to any factories for producing because of compliance issue. So it's really a solution to make it easy, like a platform. We have an application coming as well. So we really make the designer can be just in a room with the head of design and say, okay, we make this garment. Okay, let me check what I have in my factories and use this fabric. And we put it on the platform. So for them, it's really easy to see from the beginning what they have and create a garment with the fabrics, and not make the garment. I mean, make the pattern, make the design, and ask to match what they create. Now it's reverse. It's you have this, you are a designer, you have this fabric available, create something out of that from the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's a complete reverse design process.
Exactly.
Yeah. What about you, Rosa? Like, what is the feedback that you get from your clients, your personal clients, and both brands, because you work with both?
Yeah, for us, companies have been, working with us steadily, slowly but steadily. So they started, for example, we've been collaborating with the fashion brand CNA. So we started by helping them customize their clothing. So there is research that shows that by customizing your clothing, you have like a stronger attachment to that garment. So therefore, you extend their life, the garment life longer, and it doesn't end up in landfill, as soon as other garments. So we started by customizing clothing for CNA, but we're working with them along another project where upcycling comes in the picture now. It's not just customizing; it's actually remaking, repurposing their overstock. So that's what we're doing at the moment. So we've seen like a big interest from big companies wanting to move, from customizing to actually reworking their overstock. So that's a positive here.
Yeah. In fact, I've seen brands such as Diesel announce that they have like an upcycled collection, and even Loewe has an upcycled collection. It's just I don't see them doing much communication, but I am pretty sure it is because they're a bit scared of talking about it and then being accused of greenwashing, because I think it's still kind of tests that they do in really small scale to test if it's something that they really want to pursue as a company. But I'm pretty sure we're going to see more of these upcycling collaborations and collections coming up in the future. And then maybe because we're finishing like time, it's flying by. Maybe we can talk about how do we see upcycling fitting into the industry? Like, do we think it's a scalable process, upcycling, that brands can actually utilize in order to revalue their excess garments and also leftover fabric that they have? Like, is it a scalable solution, or is it something that is going to be kept as it is until now within like small brands? Ghislain, if you want to go first.
Okay, I go. No, for me, definitely for me, it's scalable. It will take time, but it's like everything which is new. Actually, upcycling, we didn't discuss about it, but upcycling is not new. People have done that since hundreds of years. Using what is available to you, because materials was not that accessible. But it's definitely scalable as soon as you implement it into the supply chain, into the way of thinking. It's now the upcycling is coming sometime too late. It's really at the last minute to say, okay, what do we do with that now? Okay, let's upcycle it. But more like if since the beginning it's inside the mind, inside the DNA of brands or whatever, here it will enter the supply chain and we will be able to scale up. For the moment, definitely, if brands people keep on buying, working the same way they did since 50 years, definitely it will not be scalable. It's just like to implement it. Think of it as soon designers should be able, because designers are made for that, to be able from the beginning to think of a garment like that.
Yeah.
I think it is same. It is 100% scalable. You can already see repairing stations for your jeans in different brands. So that's been going on for a few years now. So yeah, we're just advancing on that side of the business, and it's not going to stop, because I believe that's going to translate online, which is what we're already trying to do, move the upcycling online, so people have more access to it in an easier way. But yeah, you have, like, for example, like big e-commerce sites like Farfetch as well, that's using some restoration company to upcycle bags or shoes. So we're getting there, so slowly, but 100%.
Okay. Yeah, and it's true actually. What you mentioned, Ghislain, I think like the designer is not somebody that normally you think of as having like lots of power. I think within the whole turn for circularity, and I think like they're a key player actually in making everything this change, because yeah, I completely agree.
It's
Like if the
actually
design
it's
is not,
the industry make the designer like that. Actually, just unleash the designer mind, and it will be they will be super happy, because I mean, especially when I talk about the fast fashion and all this big group, at the end it's very similar things. So sometimes for designer is frustrated because they have to fit into a specific area. But then with upcycling, if you just unleash their creativity, then it's, I mean, great things can be done, definitely. And it will be even more excited, I believe, for the brands. I mean, it will be a little bit more different than everyone doing the same. So
yeah,
I'm sure that
definitely.
if we unleash them, it will be it will be nice.
Yeah. Okay, great. I don't know if we have any questions. I was told we like maybe the audience could ask any questions, but I don't know. Okay. No, so yeah, so thank you very much for sharing your point of view in the whole in how upcycling can change the current fashion system. I completely agree with you guys. I really think we're on our way. I think it's like my sentiment, because with Isla we help brands upcycle their sleeping inventory, and I feel like most of them are interested. However, I still think some of them will need a bit of time in order to mature their decisions and for it to be regarded as a real alternative to revalue that inventory. I think for now, I think it's more a communication technique, or more like they're kind of testing a bit what this upcycling thing is. But the more and more brands that are ready and wanting to test, the more the whole upcycling ecosystem is going to develop, the more ateliers there are going to be to upcycle, and the more awareness that the consumer has, the more demand also there's going to be for upcycled fashion. So so yeah, so I
No,
think we're all
definitely
pretty
it's
positive.
Today, upcycling requests sometimes a lot of effort, and this is in the total business. It's hard for many brands or for people to understand all these efforts, because even once you upcycle garments that have been made in Asia, if you upcycle them, it will be even much more expensive than the garments at first. So it takes time to scale up and to really put it into the priority. Now, government, definitely in Europe, will put much more pressure into brands on all their garments. You cannot discard them. You will have to be responsible for what you do. So in Europe, a lot of regulation are coming up. So they will have to. This will help scaling up all this new upcycling, recycling.
Yeah. I believe that communication is key to this whole process, and for small companies, it might be a bit difficult to reach, as many people as possible. But I think through collaboration as well, we'll get more companies, more people. So we'll get there eventually. And I believe that consumers, so consumers in general, people are more educated, and now they want to know where they spend their money on, who is behind their clothing, who makes their clothing. So I think that's very positive.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely been like a change in the consumer mindset, especially exacerbated with COVID. And if I learned one thing actually during my because I was doing consulting for a while with brands, is that they really consider consumer demands in order to change their processes. So yeah, that's great that the consumers are kind of demanding this now.
Yeah,
definitely.
Okay, I think we have one question. Okay. Sorry, I'm looking at it. Where can I see it? I'm not sure. Here. No. Okay. If you guys want, I received this question. I think they need to send it to me. You guys can speak about the
Here I am.
Okay.
Do you need support? Yeah, so I do have a question. So the question is, how about getting back to quality fabrics in the first place and avoiding changing 3 times a day? Longevity has long been a fashion feature. So maybe the question is, how about getting back to quality fabrics in the first place and avoiding changing 3 times a day?
Definitely. This is actually a very good question, because it comes to play as if, do we actually really need this whole such a high, fast production, or could the answer also be complementary with decreasing the speed of our production system?
It's as well that definitely we should produce much less garments. There is something we need to understand as well in the longevity. Of course, we can put better fabrics, but we have to understand since the last 10 years what happened as well is that we forbid, which is good, definitely good, a lot of chemicals in the industry. And when your garment is the color is not staying for a long time, for example, it's also because you have much less chemical than before. It's more, let's say, natural. So before you have a lot of, we call it azo dyes, so the color stay much longer on the garment. And now, when you see after a few washes, the color is going away. It's also because we have less chemicals. So sometimes it makes it a bit harder to have garments last longer compared to 20 years ago garments. But definitely, as the technology is there now, we can improve that.
Yeah. And I believe that the cost, it is great to have better fabrics, that's for sure. That's a given, but increases the cost of the garment. The final, the final price for the consumer is probably pretty high for the average person. I don't know. So perhaps the cost is too high for people to purchase good fabrics constantly. So that's why we believe in the circularity of garments, and reducing is for us key instead of producing more and more. But yeah, that's probably another topic. But
I think having high quality materials kind of is complementary. It actually benefits in a way upcycling, because at the end of the day, the higher the quality, yeah, the longer you're going to have a piece of clothing. And for example, it might, I don't know, you might want to upcycle it just to have a new design, but without actually buying something completely made out of new materials. So the more like the higher quality the clothing is, the more lives basically a clothing piece can have. And I think it can go like hand in hand with circularity. And then of course, I also think the current speed that we have in terms of production, well, the fashion industry has in terms of production, is obviously, I don't think it's that needed. But that's another challenge, I guess, we need to overcome as a society.
yeah.
Okay. So I would like to thank you. So we're running out of time, and it's a really interesting topic, and we could talk about it for hours. And I mean, not everyone knows about upcycling, so it would be really, really nice. But we are running out of time, so I would like to thank you again for taking part in this event, and hope to see you again soon.
Thanks for having us.